Dude,
Drew.
I'm sorry, guys. I couldn't hear you. Were you talking?
Drew, we can't hear you. Yeah, so I guess I'll take over. Welcome back to another episode of Comedy Watchers, and we're here with Zach uh, Meacham.
Mecham, but yeah,
Meekum,
close
I'm
enough.
sorry, Meekum, Zach Meekum. Okay, we're here. So why don't you tell us a little about yourself, and we'll go ahead and we'll get started.
Yeah, I'm Zach Mecham. I'm a comic based in the Midwest. I travel all over, in kind of the states surrounding Iowa right now, just trying to make people laugh.
Awesome, awesome. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. How long have you been doing comedy?
A little over 3 years now.
So you kind of started like during COVID, then.
So not exactly. It's kind of a little over 3 years is the short version. The long version is I started for 6 months in 2019, or not
Okay,
2019, when I was 19. 2013 was when I started. And then I quit for 10 years. And then I started back up about 2.5 years ago. So when you add those together, it's 3 years.
yeah. So what made you quit the original time?
Um, a number of things. I mean, are you guys comics? Um, Comedy is one of those things that's really interesting. It's so much fun and it's so rewarding. It's also like incredibly exhausting, especially when you're at my level and you've got to like do a day job and then you leave your day job to drive 4 hours to do a set in a dive bar somewhere. Um, and 19-year-old me wasn't ready for that grind. I've gotten a little older, and a little wiser. And I also like am lucky to have a knack for this, and I just don't want to waste it anymore. So
Absolutely. So um, when you were, I mean, when I was 19, I honestly could never even imagine doing like stand up comedy or anything like that. Like even now, like I could never do that. Like I'm so weird and awkward that I get up on stage and just make a fool of myself. So when you were 19 and you first started that, like what were like what were some of your jokes? Like what were you telling comedy wise on stage and that? Like how did you prep yourself for like at that like young of an age to go up on front of a stage where I would be so frightened to even speak?
what? So I mean, I was an improv person in high school, and got into it at kind of a higher level in college. And a lot of those improv people were in stand up and talked me into it. Um, At 19, there wasn't nearly as much substance to my jokes. It was a lot about like not having sex. Um, right, there was a lot of complaining about that. Um, and so, but I mean, I was very used to performing in front of people, because I'd done improv and like I have muscular dystrophy, so I was also a Jerry's kid. So like, by the time I was 4 years old, people were shoving me in front of a camera, being like, "Dance cripple, we need money."
well,
I don't know if I'm supposed to laugh or not. Like
It's that's kind of my whole shtick
yeah.
nowadays. It's like I want you to laugh, but I also want you to feel a little awkward about it.
I want you to laugh, but I also want you to feel like a piece of shit while you're laughing.
It's
so
kind of
I
my whole
just
shtick.
I assume that that comedy is like a great outlet for you to be able to kind of express yourself and come to kind of terms with that, right? Like
Yeah.
therapeutic, right?
Yeah, comedy in a lot of ways is really a vent for my anger, if I'm being honest. right? I remember like my first time in Omaha. I was on a comedy competition. I was supposed to do like 3 minute set. I planned, but then I just got there, and like the parking was terrible in my van, and then like there was no ramp, and so instead of doing the set I planned, I just rant for ranted for 3 minutes on stage and killed. But like it was really like that all fueled by like my frustration with the situation, and that's where my best work comes from. I think is like, um, I'm gonna murder on the night that I go on stage really pissed off.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like a lot of comedians kind of like you hit the hardest when you're coming from that like almost sense of aggression. I mean, even other self-depreciating comedians, like like a Ralphie Mayer or like Gabriel Iglesias, people that are kind of dealing with like giant weight loss or weight problems, and like being able to hit yourself and make that audience kind of uneasy and unsure of whether or not what they're laughing at they should be laughing at it is like a key to I don't know, kind of feeling better kind of about everybody's situation, right? I mean, comedy, regardless of anybody's situation, is kind of like it's a rough gig, and it's really dark. It can really weigh down on people's souls doing it. So I can only imagine having to deal with like parking issues like that. It's only gonna like just intensify, and then your blood boils, and then just here comes the best rant that you've ever had in that moment.
Yeah, yeah, and hopefully, because like I'm not just disabled, like I also had kind of a in some ways a rough upbringing, and so like a lot of times telling jokes about these things, these darker things in my life, hopefully will help somebody in the audience maybe feel less alone in whatever they're struggling with. So, in my experience, it's not just cathartic for me, it's cathartic for the audience that I get to tell these jokes to. So,
Yeah, I think there's a lot of connection opportunity there, especially with like even if people aren't in your situation, you have individuals who might be autistic or might be just shy or socially like impaired or something like that, and they can see you and maybe have some like that relation that
yeah.
like, hey, if you're doing it, man, like what's stopping me? Like, why am I not doing this right now? I'm on a podcast that gets like 10 views instead of doing stand-up comedy. Sorry, yeah, we forgot to tell you we don't get any views.
So
Well, that's fine. I'm just
that's
happy.
inaccurate.
um,
Only our episodes with priests. That's the only time we get views. No,
I,
I mean, like, I think the best comedy is like the comedy where you're really uncomfortable. I've been to a couple shows that were like, I'm going to generalize this as much as possible, but like there was a black comedian on stage, and the things that he said and did were to make the predominantly white crowd uncomfortable. But then it was
mhm.
funny, and once you like overstep that, like, who cares anymore? Then the comedy really comes out, you know.
Right. And comedy, if you're good at comedy, the amazing thing about it is you kind of get to talk about whatever you want. So, like, these tough topics that make people uncomfortable are often like make us feel divided, right? If the right comedian comes at it with the right type of humor, then you're able to have conversations that in any other context would not go well. And
Mm.
that's something that I think is really cool. Is like there's power. I get to make people uncomfortable because first I make them laugh.
And another thing that I mean, I feel like even like all sides of the spectrum right now are kind of suffering from this, where everybody's so sensitive, and I don't even necessarily mean like the typical complaints
Yeah,
of like
not even
we
just
can't
political. Yeah,
we can't say awful things about so and so anymore because everything's so. I just mean like, dude, every comedy show, like you can't even board an airplane anymore without people turning into like psycho crazy Karens over like the tiniest thing. So like you see it, it's not just like people upset with Chappelle because he did trans jokes, but it's like on the other end of the spectrum as well. It's like I just
Yeah.
was just watching a clip with Aries Spears who had a show interrupted because somebody didn't like a joke that he did about Trump. You know, so it's like everybody's just so ready to fight and argue for no reason. So
everybody's so polarized.
yeah, it's it's gotta like it's gotta make things difficult. You know, when you're up there on stage at this point, do you ever like bounce into any Karens like that?
So, I thought I would get more of it when I started, especially given the content of my jokes. Um, and I've had some conversations like off stage where like people, will express their disagreement. But shockingly, even the ones that I like, even the jokes where I went up on stage thinking in my head, I'm gonna offend people today, turned out to be okay. And I think it really just goes back to like, what is your intention behind the joke? Are you trying to like punch down, I guess, or are you trying to make people laugh or make a point? I have a couple jokes that are about like groups of people that aren't me, right? One joke I have is like about how statistically speaking, and this is true, don't know why, but women with autism are almost always likely to swipe right on my profile in dating. Um, like if autism is in their bio, they're gonna swipe right. Don't know why. Um,
So you're telling me
but
I need to say that I'm autistic in my dating profile?
yeah, I don't know. But like that joke, I was a little worried about at first because, like, I go, I kind of lull the audience, and then the punchline to that joke ends up being, or maybe they're just into me because my wheelchair looks kind of like a choo-choo train. But like that's a joke that's like not punching down at anybody. So
Yeah.
everybody with autism that I know that's heard that joke loves it and finds it hilarious. And so like I don't know. I think it comes down to intention, but it's like hard to tell. It's like I know a good joke when I see one, but I can't tell you what makes one joke good and another bad.
So my microphone wasn't working earlier, so I wasn't able to jump in. But I actually wouldn't mind learning a little bit more about the origin that you had with. You had mentioned sketch comedy, right?
Yeah,
I'm big into sketch comedy. When I was a kid, I mean, I assume like every other people, like dudes in their mid 30s, I watched reruns of Saturday Night Live on Comedy Central on repeat my
yeah,
entire like was my whole day until I went to sleep at night. I just watched SNL, and obviously, like I got into all of the other sketch venues at that point too. I growing up was also huge into like Kids in the Hall, and then as I grew older, The Whitest Kids You Know and stuff. So I absolutely love sketch comedy. It's such
yeah.
a terrific art form, and I think a lot of anything that I typically write that I mean to be funny, I find that it doesn't really. I think of things in terms of sketch writing, even though I've never really written for sketch, but it's just like instinctively because that was like my introduction to comedy. Um, yeah, can you tell us a little more about what you were doing in that realm?
Yeah, yeah, great question. I mean, it really all goes back to like, looking back now, being a comedian, probably I should have known was inevitable. But like when I was in middle school, high school, right, I didn't know that was like a thing that mere mortals could do. Um, but I watched a lot of like Whose Line Is It Anyway and Saturday Night Live. And so when I found out in high school, there was an improv team where you could basically do Whose Line Is It Anyway with your friends. I was like, yeah, sign me up. Um, and my whole journey kind of started there, and it turns out I'm kind of a knack for it. Um, and so then I found out that there was a group of people in college, my freshman year, trying to start an improv team. And I jumped in on that. Um, and two of the improvisers were comedians, and they're the ones who said, "You're really funny. You'd be great at stand up. You should try it." Um, and so I tried that, but then also improv in college. My professor, or the advisor for that improv group, said, "You've really got something. You should look into theater." Um, so I ended up majoring in theater, and theater and education is what I ended up graduating with. But I realized really quickly I didn't want to teach theater, wanted to be an actor, and no one was going to cast me in anything, right? Um, so then my sketch comedy career really evolved because I realized if I wanted to do anything with this degree that I spent my years working on, I had to learn how to operate a camera. And so, in addition to a lot of the stand up I do, I've also released a lot of sketches. Um, on a YouTube channel with a playlist of like 8 or 9 sketches on there, of varying production quality. You know, obviously, the more I do it, the better I get. Um, but I've got some things that I'm really proud of. I was lucky to be screened at Holly Shorts with one of my sketches that I did over COVID. So, yeah, I love sketches. I think in a dream scenario, my career would be kind of like Shane Gillis's is where like yeah he's doing stand up, but he's also like making his own shows and starring in them.
Yeah, and Shane was like he had that unfortunate event where he got like canceled and wasn't able to work on SNL, and it ended up being like the biggest blessing that could have ever happened to him because he turned
Yeah.
that into like now he flies a
The most
private jet to his
one
shows.
that like the most popular comedian out there
Yeah,
right
Right.
now. Yeah.
and they're knocking on his door, begging him to come do SNL now. And
Yeah.
you know, it only took the entire world basically trying to shut him out. But uh, I I love the he did the Shane and Gilly, right?
Yeah,
The
Gillian
sketches.
Keeves. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that was really fun for a while. I'm not sure if they still do it or not, but I remember right when that was starting up, there was some real good times.
Yeah, and it was just him and his buddies with a camera. And we've done that a little bit here, and I'm based out of Des Moines, and we've done some of that. And it's a lot of fun. Um, just to be able to work with other funny people and bounce off of each other.
Yeah, I tried to
What
get
do you?
into an go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, what do you guys do in Iowa?
Well, what, like, just in
Just in
general,
general, yeah. Like, what do people do in Iowa?
there's a lot of corn, I'm told. Um,
People listen to
and
Slipknot.
yeah, um, yeah, you're right. It's funny. I am like frequently. at a venue that Slipknot used to perform at before anybody knew who they were. Um, we used to have an open mic there for stand up. Um, but yeah, it's pretty rural, you know. Des Moines not too bad. We've got a good little scene here. We had a great little indie comedy club there for my first couple years back in the scene. Um, that was really great because I was able to do a lot of like a weekly showcase where I was doing, club comedy. And that's really, I think that's what got me to the level of comedy that I'm doing now. So it's a cool place.
Yeah, I see a lot of your dates are in Nebraska though.
Yes, yeah. Omaha is a little
Oh
bit
yeah,
more of a hopping scene than what we have in Des Moines right now. Just
that's
since more
college town,
indie.
right?
Yeah, yep,
And also they have
yep.
Omaha steaks. So
True. That must be where they come from.
I'm assuming. I think the company's
I,
actually based out of North Dakota.
if they don't come from there, I'm rioting.
I'm right with you. Pitchforks and fire. Let's do it.
Right. How far do you travel for your gigs? Like,
Uh,
what your leg, like your tour legs, like,
yeah.
yeah.
So right now we're branching out further than before. I have a friend I travel with who's also a great comic, and we're starting to hit other Midwest scenes together. So Thursday I was in Lawrence, Kansas, to do a show at a dive bar, which is what comedians at my level are doing mostly is doing gigs in dive bars. Um, and so yeah, I drove three. That was 3.5 hours, about 200 miles. So trying to branch out a little more. Obviously, I'd love to eventually do stats at the store and the comedy cellar, and travel all over. I mean, in the perfect world, I'd be touring nationally.
Sure. Sure, but you're in Omaha. You're getting close to like St. Louis, to Chicago. Like
Yeah,
it's kind of almost an open door a little bit there, where maybe you can start putting yourself into like some of those bigger markets.
yeah. That's why I haven't really left Des Moines, because the thing that I've realized is you can kind of make it anywhere, right? Like as long as you're getting quite a bit of stage time and you're putting yourself out on social. Like that's how you get fans nowadays. And so where I'm at, I'm pretty close to Minneapolis,
Hmm.
only like 5 hours away from Chicago, Kansas City, Omaha, you know, and the Quad Cities. Like there are tons of places to perform within driving distance of me. So for now, it makes sense to just stay where I'm at and focus on social.
Yeah, that's a good point too. Like, it used to be you're in New York or you're in Los Angeles and nowhere else mattered. And now you have comedians who are huge just because of TikTok who have
Hmm.
never stepped foot on any of those stages that made people, you know, famous. And so it is an interesting dichotomy because on one hand you are able to reach millions and millions of people with relatively minimal effort, but on the other hand Matt Rife exists, you know what I mean? So like you have people that are just like incorrigible, and it's like, man, why is this person so famous and hot right now? And it's because it's easy. Like, do you ever get bumped or anything from a social media star showing up to take over the stage?
No, not yet. I'm sure it'll happen. Uh, the I think like as long as comedy has been a thing, there have always just been hacky comedians that were in the right place at the right time. Um, I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. And I still believe that the cream rises to the top. And so, like, I'm mainly focused on being the best comedian I can be. And that's really where I'm at. Um, I'm not really upset with anybody that becomes successful, regardless of how good or not good they are, right? And that's highly subjective, right? There are
Mhm.
comedians that are killing rooms that I don't understand why people like them. Um, that's okay. Maybe they're just not for me. Um, but like, all I can do is just tell great jokes. And either eventually people are going to notice or they won't. And like that part's out of my control.
Yeah, that's a great outlook too to have. It's certainly. Whoa, did we lose him?
Uh,
No, easier.
that was my bad.
No, you could.
No, you're good. But yeah, I mean that's a great positive outlook to have on it. It certainly might keep you from getting too depressed or angsty if you don't ever get bumped from a social media star big leaguing you.
Yeah. Well, and
But
I'll be honest.
I,
Oh, generally, when somebody leads with their social media following, or like another one you talked about, New York and LA, if somebody leads by telling me that they've performed in a specific room in New York or LA, or that they were a comedian in New York or LA, I'm immediately skeptical of those people because I have had people come into the comedy club that I used to work at and be like, I'm a New York comic. And then, like, they sucked. And it's like, I think if you're a good comedian, you're not necessarily trying to ride those kind of coattails of like these artificial measures of your ability, if that makes sense.
no, they're absolutely like yeah. So what? You came from New York. Let's see how you do in Des Moines. You know, let's go and let's see what kind of
Right, right.
chops you actually have.
totally
Yeah.
different crowd for sure.
And
Yeah.
yeah, and like if I'm gonna try to get on a show, right? I'm not telling you what I've done, I'm sending you tape. Like you're gonna see what I can do and you're either gonna like it or you're not. Um I'm not interested in people telling me how good they are. Like I just prove it.
Right? Yeah, the measure of a comedian is the laughter in the audience. I mean, ultimately.
Mhm.
Mhm. Yeah. So I
Yeah.
got to ask, what is the most challenging thing for you when you get up on stage and you're about to start telling jokes and you see everybody sitting in the crowd? Like, what is in your head that's like constantly replaying, like negativity wise?
Mm. Um that's a great question. I would say that my biggest challenge as a comedian is probably physical. Like I said, I'm a pretty quiet person. And like in some of these high bars, for example, that aren't acoustically great, um, maybe we're working with a little PA. It's hard for me to know whether or not people in the back can hear me. And so that the biggest challenge that I'm up against at any given time is like, am I being heard? Um, as far as like mental like self-doubt or anything, I hate to be that guy. Like I don't try to be cocky. Um, but I do think there's like a certain confidence in my level of preparation. Um, for example, I did this show in Des Moines. It's like the biggest indie show in the state. We had almost 1,000 people there this year in a big ballroom. Um, and like, also, I was sharing the stage with some of the best comedians I knew, and it was a competition, so I had to compete against them. And so, like, for 3 weeks leading up to that, right, well, months first, I was A/B testing every joke I had to find out what were my very best 5 minutes of jokes. Um, did that for months, and then for the 3 weeks leading up, I'd finally decided on my jokes. And I called in every favor I had to get every minute of stage time I could to run that five. And so when I went to that competition, I remember backstage, like feeling the nerves a little bit for the first time in a long time. But then I just went, you're the most prepared person in this room. You've done the work. You're going to be fine. And I went up there and had the best set of my life. And so I think that just reminding myself of the preparation I've done is good. Um, and then now when I get up in like a noisy dive bar, I always start every set by making sure everyone can hear me. Um, and I've kind of structured. I have like a stupid joke that I do to make sure everyone can hear me. Where I just say, "Hey, everybody, I'm kind of quiet, so I just want to make sure you can all hear me. So on the count of three, I want you to yell out your favorite racial slur. One, two, three." And then everybody's obviously like quiet usually.
Oh,
And then I can just be like, well, if anybody ever answers that, I know they either can't hear me or I'm probably in the wrong bar.
It sets a real
I'll
great
answer.
tone for your set too. Like,
Yeah. Well, and I have had a couple people answer, and that is like a great opportunity for crowd work. Because the thing about if people answer that question, it's usually somebody that is like the race or whatever of the slur.
yeah, yeah.
uh, man, I had a real poignant question and I just lost it. I just totally brain farted. Um, JC, continue,
Cool.
and I'm gonna remember this because it was an
story.
important. It was an important.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up there. Yeah, so it's funny. So I usually come into these like I don't do any research about anybody that we ever talk to because I like coming in cold, and it kind of seems lazy, but at the same time, like I get to explore things. So it's funny because I'll be honest, I had no idea who you were coming into this, but now that we're talking, I've seen one of your YouTube shorts. I've seen your joke about the Epstein files
Oh yeah.
that you did and about Trump, coming up with different excuses and that for the Epstein files. Like, here's the Obama files, here's the X files, not to give away your joke.
Yeah. No, that's thank you. That was one of my favorite bits to do. So I'm glad that you saw it, and I hope you liked it.
Completely natural too, because like I never looked up your name or anything, and then like I started making connection. I was like, wait a minute, I know I've seen this before somewhere, and I'd seen that joke, and I'm assuming that this is your YouTube page, Z Wheeler 654. Is that you?
Yep, ZWheel654. Yep, that's me.
Yep. So there, if anybody go follow the YouTube page Z Wheeler WHEELER 654 on YouTube.
It's WHEELS.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry, not Wheeler. It's CWHEELS 654. I'm sorry. Yeah. On YouTube, go ahead, go and subscribe because there's some good shorts on there. Let's let's get some views on that.
I think that may have
Appreciate it.
been
Thank you.
the video that I had kind of discovered you, because you had posted that you were working on some political material,
Mhm.
and that was like the kind of the thread where I was like, oh man, this is pretty funny. I wonder if he would talk to us, because this is something I'd like to explore. By the way, JC, this whole you reminded me of this, because I was going to
It,
ask
it,
now that with the political
it,
landscape
it
that I
turns out he doesn't want to talk to us. We're holding him hostage.
Wouldn't be
think
that
twice.
hard. You just have to turn my wheelchair off.
I mean,
Yep.
how are the political jokes landing? Is that something that you're still like leaning into, or are you kind of getting maybe the wrong feedback from the crowd?
It's a great question. They've been going really well, surprisingly so. Um, and the conventional wisdom is don't get political; it'll divide your audience. Um, I think that's a valid conventional wisdom. I just got out a gut check moment to where it was like, I want to be known as the comedian that says what's on his mind, whether it's popular or easy or not. Um, I want to be the guy that's able to say whatever he's feeling in the moment. And so this is what I like. I'm telling political jokes right now because this is what I'm thinking about. And like, I, as a comedian, want to have the freedom to talk about the things that are important to me in my life at this moment. And if people don't like it, there's plenty of, crowd work comedians with six pack that they can watch. You know, I'm not going to be that guy.
Yeah, that's good to hear. Because I mean, I thought at least the stuff that I had witnessed, I thought it was good. I thought it was landing, and it's just like I said, like at the beginning, like I would be afraid to be on stage and to fall into that isolation of the crowd. And well, now I thought I was going to be funny, and now I'm having an argument with this crazy woman because I abortion or something. Like it's. I think it's brave to in this landscape that we're in right now even attempt that stuff.
I appreciate that. Um, yeah, I think uh, like you're always opening it up for that to happen. The thing that you kind of have to know about me is like if somebody picked a fight with me about politics while I'm on stage, it would make my day. Um, and I would happily take them to school. Um, for anybody that thinks you can like out argue a comedian, by the way, if you're the audience, don't try. That's dumb. We talk for a living.
Right. I mean, do you get heckled? It's like I can't imagine like somebody would want to do that.
I've gotten heckled a couple times. Not angry heckled. It's more like people just want, like you get into a crowd of people, they've had a few drinks, they just want to be a part of what's happening, so they yell something out. Um, I personally am okay with that. A lot of comedians aren't. The way I see it is I was paid to show up. I have a job to do. That person bought a ticket. Um, they have no responsibility to me. I have a responsibility to them. I'm there to work. Um, so I don't mind that much. I think the weirdest thing that ever happened, I had a guy, an older guy, who just, I guess, didn't, have, just oblivious, um, who answered a phone and started talking out loud, like in the middle of my set, and I was hosting. And when you're hosting, you really have to address these things because you aren't going to leave the comedian that goes up after you hanging to deal with it. That's your job. Um, And so, like, during that encounter, I actually, like, stopped, turned, and, like, asked if I could talk to the person that was on the phone. And they, like, put it on FaceTime, and we had, like, a whole interaction. Um, it was very interesting because the first thing she said when she saw me was, "What's wrong with you?" Um, so that just allowed me to turn the whole thing into comedy. But that was the like that's when I think of hecklers, that's the moment that I think of. But
Man, that's almost like gold though. Like you have so much to work with, especially if somebody's like on speakerphone.
yeah,
And a lot of like you're right, a lot of comedians would be like pissed that like there are people interrupting the show and that like even like some like independent comedians I've seen don't really like a whole lot of crowd interaction. A little bit they do and they'll go back and forth a little bit, but it's just enough, when it gets overboard, you have somebody tapping on the person's shoulder, it's time to go, you
yep.
know. And that's man, we got to get you out here to Cleveland. It's Midwest. You can
Love
almost
that.
make it.
Hey, if you know somebody, I'll get.
I
I'm
hey,
trying to get every city.
hilarities, downtown Cleveland, man. I'm telling you, let's book it.
All right, let's calm down.
Uh, who who are the comedians who inspired you to want to do this? I know we briefly like we talked about SNL and improv and sketch and stuff, but so when I was younger, like the tough crowd guys were my guys. Norton, Colin Quinn, Patrice O'Neill.
Yeah,
But like as far back as I can remember, I remember being much younger and seeing ads for like Carlin specials, and of course Carlin is Carlin. He's a legend. But uh, I've noticed like everybody kind of has their own flavor as far as comedians go. So I'm curious, like what brought you to the party?
yeah. I mean, like in middle school, and don't judge me. It was middle school. Um, I was a big Dane Cook guy, right?
How did I know you were going to
Um,
say Dane Cook?
because I said don't judge me, right?
Hey,
um,
the funniest thing was I used to really dislike Dane Cook, but as I've gotten older, like I've come to appreciate that brand of comedy.
yeah, it's his thing. And like people loved it, and I loved it. Um, it's not really my flavor now, but that's fine. Um,
I still have
yeah,
this.
there
I
you
still
go.
have the CD right
Nice.
here.
That's awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
I had a ripped CD that I, a friend of mine gave me, and we used to listen to it on repeat. Um, and so yeah, that was kind of like my first memory of like falling in love with comedy was Dan Cook. Um, and then of course I saw Eddie Murphy's Raw, right? Um, and like Eddie Murphy's stand up is still to this day incredible, holds up just like it did. Um, and then Bill Burr was a big influence.
Mm-hmm.
I think yeah, and if you look at like the kind of comedy I do, it's probably not a surprise that I'm a Bill Burr fan.
Yeah, Burr's great. He was definitely somebody who like his special was about 20 years ago when kind of that Dane Cook era were definitely insanely riotous. Like I remember like his first Comedy Central presents even was super good. He had like this joke
When he had
about
hair.
divorce. Yeah, which it's jarring to go back and see that now.
Yeah, and he was so fast, like, and I don't even mean fast like one joke after another. Concise is probably a better word. So he had the best word economy. And just like even his transitions, just were there and gone so fast. Of like speaking of Hitler, and then next job, and like so it was really incredible to watch him. Um, and then he's talked about like his structure of like push pull push that I really like, where he kind of like says something that is meant to kind of upset you, and then he says something that you'll like, but then he says something again to upset you, and it's really interesting.
Yeah, and he's still doing it now. Like he's still out there, with that kind of that same technique. So, at least I don't know if that answers the question or not. But my follow up was going to be like, well, in addition to what brought you to the party, like who's keeping you at the party right now? Like, are there any comedians out there that you're like a really big fan of?
Yeah, and it's weird. So like you could almost like put my um thought on it. But like old school, kind of like I really like Brian Regan. Um,
Okay, yeah,
Brian Regan is kind of inspired me to be a little more animated in my own comedy, and I think that's really helped me. Also, I love Maria Bamford, and Taylor Tomlinson.
Mm.
I think they're some of the best joke writers in the business. Um, and then I we talked about how I'm leaning into political humor and trying to do like topical jokes. That's really inspired by Josh Johnson. Um, I love everything that Josh Johnson is doing right now. Kind of cool that like I was a fan of him before everyone was a fan of him, you know? And then to see him now with the Daily Show and he's putting out 45 minutes a week. It's incredible.
the Daily Show drives me nuts because it feels like they take like 3 weeks off every every 3 weeks.
Right?
It absolutely drives me nuts. But the amount of work that goes into that show, I can understand.
It's
That's
daily.
yeah, right. Yeah, man, it just kills me because like that's the one thing that I still watch from cable is the Daily Show, and it's the reason that I have Paramount Plus.
Mm.
And like I jump on there and I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna watch this new episode. It's Monday, it's Tuesday. I'm gonna watch Monday, and nope, no, 3 weeks ago. And it's like, well, I watched that 3 weeks ago. I don't want to watch that again. Come on, man. You have
Right.
five
Have you
posts now.
gotten into last week tonight at all?
Oh yeah, I haven't watched this week's episode yet, but over the summer too, that one's kind of driven me nuts because like every 2 or 3 weeks they have like a week off.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But yeah, both are in the same zone.
yeah. Actually, like out where JC lives, pretty close to him. Uh, the whole bit that they did with renaming the minor league baseball team with the Moon Mammoths.
Mm-hmm.
That was a pretty sweet bit, and I'm actually like thinking about making the trip over to Erie to maybe catch a game and buy one of the T-shirts or something with that because I've been following that on Last Week Tonight quite a bit.
Nice, nice.
Yeah, that exploded. Like they have like the whole team has like a whole line of merch and stuff that like sold out and that just based off of that like little skit or whatever you want to call it.
I think my favorite thing about last week tonight is those random asides of like those like things that they find that just come out of nowhere and then connect it to something horrible, but like find a way to like slip this hilarious anecdote about the moon mammoth, and it's brilliant.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of that stuff. I have been writing my own version of that kind of presentation. I did one episode, I mean, about a year ago, because our show, we talk about a lot of stuff. and basically the content is based off of our guest. But when we first started, the concept was paranormal, like almost exclusively. We talked to people who did like paranormal stuff, and we got deep into that world, and I got so frustrated with it that I did like my own daily show version where I was just kind of ripping into all of the paranormal cliches and like calling people out, like
Yeah.
and so I mean it's not like a popular thing, but I've been writing actual news references. It's like not paranormal anymore. So like possibly this week or next week I will have my own like watchers version of like at least my attempt. Like I don't necessarily think I'm great at it, but it's something that I like, from the presentation to the joke telling to the actual having a message behind it. It's something that I want to feature more on this channel.
I think that's really smart. And I've thought about that myself, right? Especially because I'm very, like, I don't, like, the Daily Show is very tapped in to US politics, right? And then I watch another YouTube show because I'm like a tech nerd, so I like tech. And so I watch Tech Linked, which is like a comedy tech news show. Um, it's, you can tell it's not done by comedians, but it's funny enough, you know? Um,
Yeah.
but I was thinking about like how fractured like disability related issues are, right? We have like one news source called Disability Scoop, and you have to pay for it. Um, and otherwise, we all just find out stuff on Reddit and Facebook. Um, and so I thought about doing like a comedy version of that, of like, right now the world is burning for disabled people today. Here it all is.
Yeah, I mean that's rough. JC's a tech guy. He has another podcast that's just all tech related. Have you ever watched that channel? No.
No, nobody's watched that channel. What kind of question is that?
It's one of the like Linus Media Group channels. I'm sure you're familiar with that.
I am, yeah. No, so we just talk about like old like video games and like computers and stuff, but we try to keep it lighthearted at the same time. It's called Techaggy. I'm gonna plug it. Techaggy podcast. TECHEGY. But it's not even in the realm like what Drew has come up with and what we've done together. Like this is a whole different beast compared to like that other thing was just for funsies. Like we don't take it seriously, and I'm not saying that we take this super duper seriously. I mean, we do to an extent, but we try to have fun with it. But Drew's like absolutely insane when it comes to like this stuff. Like he's so many people booked that like I'm like sick looking at the calendar. And
it turns out I'm great at producing. Who would have thought?
I mean, I don't know if I would say great. I don't know if just consecutively booking people 1,000 times over counts, but
well, this time last year we were booked 6 months in advance.
It's true, yeah. But we have, what we got going on here is good. And that separate podcast, and I've like thrown around the idea of having other podcasts too, but I don't know. I'm lazy. I don't feel like it.
At least he's honest.
It's a lot.
What's that?
I get it. It's a lot, but I also like. I've now adopted this philosophy for myself. That's like, if you want comedy to be your job, you need to treat it like one now. So like we have open mics 5 nights a week. So 5 nights a week, usually I'm taking a little bit of a summer break, but I'll be back at it in a week, or I'll be 5 nights a week again. And so I admire and appreciate that kind of discipline where it's like, this is the thing that I want to do, so I'm going to do it like it's my job now, so that one day it can be.
Yeah, that's true. That's 100% true.
Yeah, that's a philosophy that I've been really working hard with this channel and this podcast. It's 2 years. We've grown consecutively over those 2 years. I don't know if it does grow if I'm not super OCD and crazy about it. It's led to great relationships, new friendships. Our films are distributed now that didn't exist before. So, like, it's a slow and steady wins the race kind of thing. But as long as you're in the race, I think that's what's important.
Yeah. The growth is growth, and over time, that's going to increase exponentially as long as you're staying consistent and improving at what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we are actually hitting that hour mark that we usually tend to cut it off at. It was a quick hour. This was a lot of fun. I enjoyed talking to you. One thing that we always
I had a great time.
Awesome. Yeah,
me too.
One thing that we always like to do is, we like to spend those last couple of moments giving our guest every opportunity they have to plug and promote. The shows do go up relatively quickly. I think right now, based on our recording schedule, it's maybe a week behind. So, I wouldn't plug anything that might be happening tomorrow, but starting next weekish, we hopefully will be able to at least, promote or put maybe a butt in the seat somewhere.
Yeah, I would say, please follow me on social. Instagram is where I post my comedy poster. Generally, I'll do one poster a month that's got all my dates on it. So you'll be able to see that there. I'll be in Illinois, Nebraska, and Iowa in September. So if you're in any of those areas, definitely check me out. If not, please subscribe to me and my socials. Check out my shorts. Share them with your friends if you think they're funny. Really, I'm banking on growing my social. It's really what I'm trying to do with my comedy. So, if you help me grow, I can be in a city near you once I have enough.
Yeah, right on. So, I think we did it again. I really appreciate it. It was a lot of fun.
Much for having me.
Yeah, we can do it again anytime.
Yeah, for sure.
We have an outro that. Yeah, for sure. So we have an outro that we play, and by all means, you're free to go whenever. You don't have to, sit through it if you don't want to. But
nothing happens after it.
Yeah. So I think we're ready.
I do gotta pick off. Yeah.
All right, man.
Thanks,
Have
Zach.
a good one.
Thank you so much. It's been awesome.
Thank you.
The preceding program has been brought to you by the Watchers Podcast Network. If you enjoyed the show, please like, subscribe, and share with your friends to help grow our network. Check us out on all social media platforms, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts. And until next time, thanks for your support.